All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we got a hip hop pioneer. We got the one, the only Easy AD of the legendary Cold Crush Brothers right here on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Well, everything is good. Hip hop is keeping a lot of people employed these days. As far as I'm concerned, everything is well in my world. Mm-hmm.
That's the best route to be as well. You know what I mean? I hope New York City is doing well during this pandemic. I heard New York, man, stuff is starting to open back up on your end, like concert wise and whatnot. So that's always good.
I mean, yeah, the pandemic has caused people to become more aware of their bodies, about eating well, about being more healthy, and being more family orientated, basically, because you have to be around your family a lot more now. And you have to know who you are. You're learning who you are now. You don't have things to keep you in the fantasy, so you're living in reality.
I most definitely agree. And if you don't mind me, asking, I really want to take you back. I have to ask you, like, what made you decide to get into music in the first place, way back in the day?
Well, I mean, one of the most exciting things that we had in our public school system when I was in public school, we had music class. So, so you was in the glee club and you sang, you played instruments and stuff like that. So I sang in music class. I played trumpet, I played congos, bongos, and drums. So, musically, I was part of a natural progression for me to be involved in music based on me, playing an instrument.
That's actually really cool, and I noticed as well that not a lot of schools nowadays really do have that music program. I don't know about in the States, but down here in Canada, they don't really have a music class anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that these people that control the system decided that's not as valuable as the other things that they, want to implement in school. But we all know, those of us who work, with the brain, know that music lights up a certain part of the brain that makes you feel good, energy and stuff like that, and also it helps you learn.
I most definitely agree. When I was back in school, we had music class and whatnot, and that was the only reason why I really went to school, because that was the only class that I really looked forward to be honest with you.
Yeah. So music and basketball was definitely all I did. Every day. All day. Music and basketball. When I say music, writing rhymes, listening to music, and playing basketball and going to school. That was my life. And I had a wonderful, and still have a wonderful life.
And as we already know, you were the founding member of the legendary Cold Crush Brothers. I was wondering if you can tell us the story behind that group's formation. Like, how did you get connected with the other members back in the late 70s?
Well, let's put it this way. The original DJ Tony Tone, came up with the name. He founded the name Cold Crush Brothers and the group. I met Tony. I told him I was an MC. He was like, I'm creating this group called Cold Crush Brothers. He said, you're down. And then from that point on, we went and found other members, and the group, it has changed periodically, but the world knows the ordinary Cold Crush Brothers with, DJ Tony Jones, DJ Tony Chase and the Cold Crush Brothers, Jerry D. Lewis, Almighty KG, EZAD, and Grandmaster Jack. That's what the world knows. But there was different lineups before that happened.
And I have to ask you one thing, man, because like as we already know, you are like a hip hop pioneer within the East Coast, man. You are one of the Cold Crush Brothers is one of the groups that really started all this type stuff, man. So I want to ask you, how does it feel after all these years to still be recognized as being one of the very first hip hop artists of all time?
Well, as far as being recognized as one of the pioneers of the hip hop culture, it's an honor, right? You help create something, it grows. Your input on it is everlasting, so it goes beyond music, and that's what we did. The Cold Crush Brothers has gone beyond music. A lot of times, when we do talk about the hip hop culture, we do not talk about the beginnings, right? So most people only have knowledge when records were being made. Like they don't know, they have no knowledge of the beginning. They don't have knowledge of the evolution of hip hop, all the different aspects which we call the elements of the hip hop, as far as like how disco was we hated disco. When I say hated, we didn't like disco because that was our elders' music, right? It was just, it didn't vibrate to us. So we created something that was ours, something that we we love, something that we felt good about, something, you know. So one of the things that people never talk about when they talk about hip hop, they never talk about the influx of all the elements that help propel culture to where it is. So here, let me give you an example. Most of the things that people talk about in the media, they talk about like park jams. We just call them, we have parties, right? But they named it park jams, so most of us went with it. So the first time we were recorded our performance, we recorded on an 8-track tape, right? So those of you who can, an 8-track tape, we recorded our live performances on, all right? Then it was an 8-track tape to cassette. Cassette lasted a very, very long time. And you got to look at, you know, the art of DJing and the art of MCing and the art of graffiti and b-boying was something that you had to be really, really good at to stand out. There were a lot of people who you know, came along and they added a little bit, but they weren't everlasting. Like, you know, just like the NBA. The players now get a $130 million contract. At the beginning, you did it for the love. You didn't get a major contract. So that's how hip-hop evolved. It became a business. And when it became a business, the business dictated what people heard on the radio, right? Remember, hip-hop, the street dictated what people were listening to, right? Let's not even talk about records. Let's talk about tapes, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, your question.
Oh, pardon? Sorry, what was that?
I said, let's talk about cassette tapes. You had the hottest cassette tape in New York City, the 5 Boroughs. You were like on top, the best, right? Everywhere you go, your tapes are played on cassette players. They call them boomboxes now. We just call them cassette players back then. Your tapes were played in. We have Uber now, Lyft. Back then we had OJ. Those were the cars, right? So that kind of put you in the thing. And then we have the battles. Right? You want to talk about battling, right? You battled for your reputation. And the crowd really kind of dictated, you know, who won or not. So that's some of the essence of the culture.
And also, one thing I do want to note as well, that a lot of individuals now, when they do talk about like hip hop or even newer hip hop, you know, they always leave out the fact that there's also like b-boying, there's like breakdancing, there's also even graffiti art, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't realize graffiti is actually part of the hip hop elements as well.
Absolutely. Right. So in order for you to really kind of feel the vibration of the culture of hip hop, all those elements have to be seen and being performed in one place, and only then will you feel the essence of hip hop. So most people only feel the vibration of hip hop through the rap, right? So when hip hop at its roots, right, these stories were told based on our surroundings, our environment, right? So you wrote rhymes based on your environment, and also a lot of the nursery rhymes, because we used to go, Ike and Mikey was playing in the ditch. Mikey, so Mikey, you are 30, sort of like, so we just, nursery rhymes and stuff like that. And then the art of MCing evolved, and that's when the Chris brothers came into play. And we changed that.
And also, you guys, aside from the whole music, making appearances on actual albums, you actually made an appearance on a hip-hop film titled Wild Style. I have to ask you, what was it like actually being a part of that film? And of course, what was that experience like for yourself and the rest of the Cold Crush brothers?
Well, the experience, first of all, we were doing what we always did. So we didn't really kind of understand collectively, we didn't understand the magnitude of what we were doing, because we were just living and existing and doing what we naturally do. So being part of the film, making the film was fun. That's number one. Number two, we got paid. We also signed contracts. So we still receive royalties from that movie today. So that's exciting. But anyway, back to your question. It was fun. We had a great time. And we got a chance to be around some of our adversaries that we don't normally stay around for that long of a time, So it was kind of fun, and it gave us it brought in the interest in the culture of hip hop when the film was released, and then it also allowed us to go on tour as well. So we were the first group. There was a couple of us to go to Japan Japan, Osaka, Tokyo, and stuff like that. It was major. So that gave us the opportunity to get out of the country and travel and introduce the rest of the country to hip hop.
And speaking of that as well, when you brought up Japan and whatnot, I think that was actually my next question. Like the Cold Crush Brothers are actually known for starting the earliest foreign markets when you guys took 25 MCs and DJs, breakers and bombers to Tokyo, Japan in 1983. I have to ask you, what was it like being out in Tokyo, Japan in 1983, and just the feeling of being able to say, hey, I was one of the individuals that really started the Japan market?
Well, first of all, I always like to say this. It was a group of us, right? One of the key components of the culture of hip hop. It was a collaborative effort of many different people. And a lot of times when you speak to people, they always say I. So I don't like to use that. It's we, right? It was many of us. But the Coca Club was part of that. So let me share how was it. We went to, there was this park in Japan where when we went there, they were wearing Elvis clothing and mimicking Elvis. I think every Sunday or whatever, they should get together, and it's a lot of people in the park named Elvis. When we left, they were wearing all the Beat Boys gear and hip hop gear. So that was a major influx in the culture right there. We changed the perception. We put a whole new genre of music abroad across the world, and it opened up the door for other people to come behind us.
And especially back then, in like 1983, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, so for them to really know about the hip hop culture, they really needed a group like you guys to actually go out there and show them. Because like you said, they were all up on Elvis, then they were like, whoa, like we're pretty far behind.
Yeah, absolutely. The Wild Style movie just propelled hip hop to another level, brought more attention to it. A lot of the individuals who were in the film got an opportunity to move on to the next level and make major motion pictures and stuff like that. Be on movie soundtracks. But we stayed fast to what we were doing. Like the Copas folks, we're known for our harmonies, our live performances. We never were interested in ever making records. So we sold more cassette tapes than we ever sold records. Like our cassette tapes are going triple and quadruple platinum. And this is from 1980, 81, 82. We sold tapes. Now, one of the interesting things about, the connection when you say overseas with the movie, right? So our tapes went out of the country as well. Because if you had a brother that was in the army, he was in Germany, based in Japan, the cassettes were being sent to them because, they wanted to get their hip hop while they were, in the military. So our tapes went worldwide. And so that's why we feel that the Coco's Brothers is a beloved group because of our invading the world with our rhythmic style, our flow, our harmony, and our live cassette tapes, and the movie Wild Style. And then we made some records.
And also, jumping ahead just a little bit here, going into the 90s, you also partnered with the legendary KRS-One for the Temple of Hip Hop project. I have to ask you, what was it like actually partnering up with KRS-One? And of course, can you tell us a bit more about the Temple of Hip Hop?
Well, KRS-One decided to get some authentic people, right? Because, in order for you to, if you're going to bring something, right, you have to go back to its roots. And a lot of times, the genre of the culture of hip-hop, and you compare it to other genres of music. A lot of the other genres of music, they go back to the roots and get the people who propel the particular culture to where it is. And they do business with them, they make music. But anyway, KRS-One decided he wanted to do temple hip-hop. But he wanted to get people who were knowledgeable, who could articulate the culture and educate people in many different facets. So, that's how I got involved with him to help build the temple at that particular time.
And also, KRS-One is such a talented individual, man. In my personal opinion, he is one of the best MCs to ever do it.
He's among many. There's a lot of, one of the things I like to say to people is that there's the best, you're the best in a particular time and era, right? Because there is no the best. Not from my perspective. Because everyone has an era. When you're at the top of the game, then someone comes and, they're the best. So, you had a lot of MCs that are really in flow and stuff like that. There's some MCs that you probably never never looked at because they don't get talked about. Like MC Glow is kind of very interesting MC. The Treacherous Three, interesting MCs. You know, you're familiar with Kumo D, but then you have Special K. And Special K is an incredible MC. Then you have, moving a little bit forward, when you come into the 90s, you have the ultramagnetic MCs. You have Cool Keith, and you have my brother Said G. So you look at the evolution of the culture, right? So most people look at it, they go, all right, the Furious Five, right? And they only pick out Melly Mel, right? But then there's so many intricate things that most people don't even feel, right? There's Cowboy, who actually, his voice was incredible. His rhymes was incredible, but you don't hear about him, right? And then they have Kid Creole, who was one of the most incredible MCs that rocked the echo chamber, right? And it was amazing. And then you look at the Funky Four. I mean, they had very good MCs, but to me there was really no particular standout other than they had a female, which is Skyrock. But then you go to the earlier days of hip hop. So when you go back to the beginning, so have you ever heard of Superman and Kid Vicious, LJ, Elroy, and Donald D?
I've heard of Donald D. Yes, I actually had Donald D. on the station. I think it was about 7-8 months ago.
Right, so that was the early, and Donald D was my first MC partner because we grew up together in the Bronx. We grew up in a boys club. So our first group was called the Optalon Brothers. It was me and Donald D. and another MC called Thing Nitty, and DJ Rashid and DJ Stephanie.
Yeah, Donald D's doing really great for himself too. I believe he's living out in the UK right now.
He lives in Italy, actually.
I gotta say, living out in Italy, I think that was a good choice. You know what I mean? The great Italian food. You know what I mean? I don't think you can really go wrong with Italy.
No, he hasn't. He's been traveling. He's been doing. I think he's been out there for 20-something years now, so maybe 30. But I mean, so that's the evolution of the MC. And a lot of people don't know about that, and they don't kind of, because if you're a connoisseur of the culture, you kind of dive into that. So and then you have a guy who they don't even talk about in MC, Kevin Kemp from the Fantastic Five. He set a lot of standards for MC, and no one talks about him in the culture. His dress, his style and his flow, no one talks about it. And then let's talk about his brother, Master Ross. Every time you hear a tape or a recording, you hear that Puerto Rico, hello, he's the guy who said on that tape that everybody samples. So there's a lot of intricacies about the culture that people don't talk about. Then you jump about the Cold-Curse brothers, Cold-Curse 4MC. We were like the Mike Tyson of MCs. We try to knock you out every time you get on stage with us. Whether we were battling, whether we were performing, we love perfection. And that's what we did. We worked hard at our craft. It wasn't something we took for granted. We knew it was important to be the best that we could be.
And that's the best way to be, you know what I mean? Most definitely bring competition to your opponents.
Let me tell you a story about, so you talked about the movie Wild Style, right? So Wild Style gave us the opportunity to travel even domestically. So we went out to California, and we played in this place called a Radio Lingerie Club and stuff like that. So we met a lot of what they would call the West Coast MCs early on in the 80s, right? So we met a lot of them, and they came up to us, and we talked to them. They was like, yo, I'm the best MC out here. We met a lot of MCs who grew to be economically secured presently, and that's what they own right. So MCing and the art and hip hop it changed the world. And so now they use it in everything. They use hip hop in everything that you can think about. And I'm honored. I mean, we are honored to be in every book, in museums. It's kind of weird to be alive and being talked about, historically. So it's honored.
And also, you were a part of the 10th Element of Hip Hop tour. I have to ask you, what was that experience like? And of course, how did that tour come to be?
Well, because my brother Keith Tucker from Seattle, right? He's into health, and so am I. I'm very much into health, and he decided that he wanted to incorporate another element, but his which is health, right? But what he did is he went to the necessary people. He went to the elders to get the okay, so he can do that. So it just allowed us to honor some of the people in the culture at different events and talk about health and how hip hop is incorporated in educating people about health and eating right and stuff like that, things like that. This is all, if you health and wellness and stuff like that, if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how good everything you are. If you're not healthy, it doesn't matter. You can have all the money in the world. It doesn't matter. So that's how I got involved. Keith Tucker from Seattle, he asked me to be involved, help put it together with him, along with him. And it took off from there. So he still does those things around the country as well.
And speaking of eating healthy as well, you are also a part of the Hip Hop Heals program, which actually helps teach children about healthy lifestyles. I was wondering if you tell us a bit more about that program, and of course, how can other individuals get involved?
Absolutely. Let's put it this way. Hip Hop Heals it stands for Healthy Eating and Living in School. So I'm the educational director at Hip Hop Public Health nonprofit .org. So what we do is we go into schools in all the 5 boroughs in New York City, and we teach kids about health in a very unique way, using the culture of hip hop, from music to visuals. We create PowerPoint presentations, understanding that every kid learns differently. Right? You have a visual learner, you have an auditory learner, you have a kinesthetic learner, you have a reading write learner. So we make sure that the presentation incorporates that, but we make it fun. We also bring in we call what they use in college. They use audio response devices, but we call them beatboxes, where the kids are able to interact with us and answer the questions that we present on the PowerPoint presentation in real time. And we have we play music. We created videos that reinforce the messages that we want to teach to young people. So we do grade 3, 4, 5, and 6. My most exciting time is when we used to have 500 kids in the auditorium. We call it entertainment.
That's actually really good. That's actually a really creative name. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So kids are having fun. They're learning. They're able to win different prizes, and at the end of the program, we give them comic books to reinforce the messages that we had taught them on a particular day. So we have a 1-day program, a 2-day program, and a 3-day program. And I was brought on to bring in the culture of hip hop and also just make sure that it's authentic what we're doing with the young people. Then I also brought in to be part of the organization. I brought in DMC and I brought in Chuck D to be part of the organization as well.
That's actually really cool. So little do they know that these young kids, they have the legend, a member of the legendary Cold Crush Brothers, and they got Chuck D, a Public Enemy, in front of them, man. You know what I mean? If only them youngsters knew the prestige.
Oh, Public Enemy, no, Chuck and DMC, they don't go to the schools. It's myself. I go to the schools. Chuck and D lend themselves to events for the organization, and also they appear on some of the songs and cartoons that we did, but they don't go do the education.
Okay. So they pretty much just help in the background side of things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So me and my brother, his name is Artie Green. We are the educational. I call myself the hip hop health ambassador. So that's what I do when I'm in front of the kids, and the kids are very excited. And sometimes the parents, if we do a 3-day program, they take the comic book home. The parents be like, "Oh my God, they're in your school, really?" Sometimes they show up and say hi and stuff like that. So it's rewarding. Number one, number two, you're engaging a new generation of young people. Number three, and I'm doing hip hop.
And also, aside from that as well, you also founded the skincare company, Crochet. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that company? Of course, where can our female listeners that are listening here, whether it's live or on demand, how can they go about getting some of your skincare products?
Absolutely. It's crochet.com, www.crochet, CRUSHSATA.com. So what happened with that is I'm into health. I've been in health. I'm into health and I'm healthy, right? But I've been doing this stuff for such a long time. So I used to order, products from different companies, and they used to take so long to send them to me, right? And I like natural products with no chemicals in it and stuff like that. So me and my lady at the time, her name is Hameen, we decided to create, to make our own brand to just use it on ourselves, right? And then people used to go, "What? It smells great. What's that?" So we said, "Well, it's crochet." They said, "Well, where can I get that?" So we only sell it to friends and stuff like that. Then we decided to create, I built the website. She put the content in, and it went on from there. So it came from not being able to get cooked products and just make it on your own. So you can go to crochet.com and order your crochet. I tell you this, you will not be disappointed. I use it every day, and I make it. I make it at home. I use all natural, organic ingredients. It's incredible.
And that's the best route to go as well. You know what I mean? You got to, and I'm going to be honest with you as well. I'm going to be honest. You're probably going to outlive a lot of people, man. Because I looked at some of your pictures on Facebook, man. You are legit a healthy individual, man. So you most definitely. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm not trying to kiss your butt because you're a legend on my station, but you don't look a day over 40, bro. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I appreciate that, and it only shows that what it shows is that you can take care of yourself if you really want to. I mean, I drink filtered water. I eat 99% plant based food. I get my rest. I exercise at least 4 to 5 times a week. I sweat a lot, and I like to be around young people because when I say young, I'm talking about students because what they do is they kind of reteach you about life. Because a lot of people, when they get older, they forget they were young, right? They forget that they made mistakes. They forget that just being young, you're more free than us. And sometimes when you get older, you kind of set in your way and how you operate. So hip hop is the young art, right? So I'm always going to be next. I'm hip hop, right? I mean, we are hip hop. And as long as I'm connected to the youth, I will never, ever be old. Because the energy is young, the information is young. And they tell me, it's like, when I tell them how old I am, they tell me, no, you're not.
Oh, most definitely. And see, I look at it like this, like when people say like you're not, it's because you're very active, you're very fit type stuff, right? So like they always say, their age is just a number.
Yeah, I want to share this exciting thing with you. So, me and my brother, his name is Sergi, we have teamed up to do some stuff, and we will be releasing it for the world very soon. So, the name of our group is called Saxon. So look, when it comes, you'll know because it's about good vibration. It's about health. It's different than what's being played now because I'm not on that vibration. I think music is vibration. That's what I feel, right? So if you listen to music now, the vibration is a little bit low, right? It doesn't make you feel good. It makes you feel weird, I would say. Now, I'm not saying I dislike the music. I understand the music, right? Because if you're part of the culture, you need to understand the music. You need to listen to the music, and don't be a critic of the music of the artist because that's their creativity. And a lot of times, the guys from my era, I'm gonna use my era, they don't know how to embrace the youth. And one of the things I can say to the youth, keep doing what you're doing, but look at it from this perspective. Are you doing music for your block? Are you doing music for your city? Or are you doing music for the world?
That is most definitely true. I agree with those statements. That's some amazing advice as well.
Yes, yeah. I like to talk to because we don't do that. Like the hip hop culture is like it's like going to Japan showed us how they honor the elders, how they respect the culture, and so hip hop has not evolved to that yet, but hopefully in the near future that will happen. But the elders have to be open to communicate with the younger generation and not be critical of what they do. So that's how I feel about music and health. It all is all incumbent in how you live your life and how you exist. And thank Tony Tone for creating the CKOR Brothers, because it is. So when you look at the CKOR Brothers, it's like different elements of the culture, right? Everyone has their own specialty, and when you put it together, that's when it works. It's like like we talked about, like it's a basketball team. You got all the components working; they're unstoppable, and that's how the CKOR Brothers work. When we work together, all the components together, we were unstoppable because we loved what we do, what we did, and still do.
And I most definitely have to say, when we're on that, I gotta say to you, thank you for everything you've done for hip hop, because you paved the way for so many other legendary individuals, man. So the CKOR Brothers and yourself, thank you for everything that you have done for the hip hop community.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to present my energy and my information on your thing.
Hey, man, you were most certainly welcome. I'm just honored that you actually blessed me with some of your time, man. Because I got to say, you know what I mean. I might not have been alive for that era, but I most definitely appreciate that era of hip hop. Because in my personal opinion, that's where the real hip hop is at, is in your era.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that the younger generation, I don't like it. So I'll say it this way: it's the foundation in which if the other artists build up hip hop. So it's the foundation of the culture. So it's the roots. So as long as you water the roots, take care of it, it's going to be everlasting. So we appreciate what the artists are doing today, and they can appreciate what we did to help build a billion, $2, $3, $4 billion business.
And also, Easy, so this is the time in the interview there, right before I wrap things up, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to. And also, if you can, drop your social media handles and your websites. That way individuals can follow you and check you out if they're not already doing so, which I hope so, because this is an old school hip hop station and you are the legendary Easy AD, so I hope they're already connected.
Okay, but it's okay. So my Instagram is letter E, capital E, small letter Z, A-D. That's it, on Instagram. Also, the CKOR Brothers is on Instagram, CKOR Brothers on Instagram. And on Facebook, it's the same. It's easy, capital E, lowercase z, capital A, lowercase z, on Facebook. And we can be fine anyway. You just type us in anywhere, you'll be able to find us, because we have a lot of information, a lot of history online. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. for building a floor that displays the ultimate culture of hip hop up here, with all the pioneers and also the influencers of the culture of hip hop. And I want to also give a big shout out to my brother, DJ Tony Tone, for putting the CKOR Brothers together.
And I gotta say, Easy, thank you so much, excuse me, sorry, for taking the time out of your busy evening and coming on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. It truthfully was an absolute honor and most definitely a privilege. And again, thank you so much for everything that you have done, and I hope down the line we can make this happen again. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. You have a good evening.
You as well. Thank you.